and welcome to the Enlightened Humanity Circle Spiritual Rave, where we are bringing you dozens of experts to teach you how to deeper connect with your own wisdom and your own divine knowing. My name is Bonnie Sachs, and I'm here with Lily Winsaft.
Hi, everybody. So excited to be here.
Together, Lily and I created the 8th Chakra Company, and we are all about helping people access their own information and master what it is to be human. Today, we have Angela Adkins, and we are so excited to have you here today, Angela.
Hi, glad to be here.
So Angela is actually a senior Mindscape instructor and an international lecturer, and she is here to help us understand more ways that we can access our information through the practice of Mindscape. So Angela, let's just dive right into this conversation. I think Mindscape is just a fascinating process, and I'm really excited to share it with everyone. So can you take just a couple moments to tell us how you got to where you are now, where you are teaching this around the world?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been teaching for the International Body Talk Association since 2001. That would make it, 16 some odd years, something like that. And Mindscape is an aspect of it's a part of the life science division. And we're focused really in helping people, empowering people to tap into their own innate wisdom and apply it in a real practical way in everyday life. So when I took this class as a student, I don't even know how many years ago, it all just gelled for me. Everything in my life started to click into place, and I realized so many deep truths about myself, and my life began to change. And I began to put all of the method into practice daily, and I began using it with my clients. And what happened after that was it was miraculous. It was transformational. And I became so inspired that eventually, several years later, I pursued the teaching path. And my life's never been the same since.
Well, I think that's really fascinating. So you talk about body talk. Can you take just a moment to explain what body talk is, just so people have a reference point?
Sure. So body talk is a healing modality that creates a natural, intuitive language between the practitioner and the client to jumpstart the client's natural ability to heal on all levels, mentally, spiritually, physically. Because we all know our body can heal. We cut our hand heals, right? And then there are some situations where we're under a tremendous amount of stress, or because of environmental influences or ancestral genetic influences, the healing process is slower or more challenged, or what we consider to be more serious. So that's where body talk comes in, because as a body talk practitioner, we get to see absolutely transformational healings take place every single day in our practice, because the human body is amazing. So we sit with the client, and we access a structured framework of intuition, and we go through a very detailed scientific procedure and protocol chart to determine what the priority is for the person's body mind. The human body likes to heal in its own time, right? In its own time. We have our idea consciously, right, how we'd like to heal. I think everyone has that about their life, but the body has its own time frame, and certain things need to shift and change before others. And so as a body talk practitioner and as a teacher, we honor that process, we partner with it, and then the healing takes place naturally.
So what actually got you into body talk? Like, do you have some juicy story that sort of led you to body talk, or did you just stumble upon it and knew right away that was what you were supposed to be doing?
Well, I was a massage therapist 22 years ago, full-time massage therapy, working with many clients that had some pretty serious issues: fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, multiple sclerosis. And also on the not so serious side, I work with stressed out moms, and student athletes out of practice. And I loved what I did as a massage therapist. But what I noticed in them, and also in myself, was that they would come to me, they'd feel better initially. It might last for a week or 2 weeks, but I would see them again the next month and they had the same issue. It might have shifted to a different area of the body, but it was really the same issue. And I became frustrated with them. And I was looking for something that would address the body in a more holistic way. So actually, I was just searching for massage therapy CEUs. It feels like some kind of odd coincidence, but it was so synchronistically planned.
Of course.
Looking back now, it was just so beautiful, so beautiful. So I just answered an ad, and there was someone from Florida teaching in Houston, actually. And I just went on a whim. I'd never had a session. I invested the money. I went for 4 days, and I took the course. After the very first day of the course, my mind was blown. My paradigm had shifted, and I experienced several personal healings just being in the course and receiving practice. Things in me that had been going on for many years, knee problems, shoulder pain, pains in my wrist from being a massage therapist for so long, that all began to unwind, and I felt so much better and so much more free mentally that I just never looked back. I just kept learning and learning and learning, and then went into teaching many years later.
I have a question for you about the juicy side of your life. Is that you're in practice with your husband, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Give us something about that, because a lot of our audience, I think, we reach a certain point where we would love to be able to have our life partner be involved in what we do, and so give us a little bit on that.
Here's a funny story. Okay, so my husband was a physical therapist. He still is a professional physical therapist. And he worked with sports teams and athletes and really, really good at what he did. But he's also the grounded, skeptical one, right? Or used to be. And I was more of, anything's possible. Let's go do this. And he was like, what? That sounds a little crazy, right? So he went with me to that weekend just to make sure they weren't going to steal my money. Okay. I know. And I was thankful, right? I was very thankful. So he went with me. And that evening, the first day of the course, I was practicing. I said, let me try out some things I learned today. I started practicing, fumbling through, honestly. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd only learned it that day. His eyes just popped wide open, and he said, how did you know that? We'd only been married a year.
Wow.
And I said, I don't know how I know.
Wow.
But I found it using this body talk protocol. And after that first session, he felt so better. A chronic hip pain he'd had his entire life because of college football and baseball injuries. And, just that happens, and gosh, that was a while ago. It was just transformational for him as well. So then just 3 weeks later, we both took another class, his first body talk class. And then we started taking classes together. And then we were so inspired by what we were learning, we decided that we wanted to teach together. And that's what we do.
Wow. Yeah. Love your story there. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, we have such a good time. I don't know that anyone else right now is co-teaching with their significant other like we do. And it has its moments, believe me. It has more wonderful, brilliant, blissful moments than challenging moments. And it's really been a gift for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I like that. I certainly would love to be in business with my husband and have us working alongside each other. So let me ask you about how Mindscape helps people access their own information. Could you take a couple minutes to sort of give everyone an overview about what Mindscape is and how people can use that to access more of their own knowing?
Sure. I'd love to. Thanks for asking.
Sure.
Okay. So, and I want to apologize for my overenthusiasm.
Never apologize for being over-enthusiastic.
Yeah. I feel so blessed to be able to do what I do. Okay. So what is Mindscape? It is a process of inner knowing. And so during this weekend intensive, we guide the participant into a space of relationship with themselves to understand deeply their own intuitive language. Internally we communicate with ourselves through symbolism, metaphor, story, song. That's the ancient indigenous way of learning, and in many ways the shamanic way of learning. So now, and that's what we do with Mindscape. It's been repackaged in a way that's very modern, very streamlined, very natural. And we empower the student to be able to leave the course after 2.5 days and know how to do everything on their own. So they don't need me anymore. And that they can find their zone, right? We all talk about that these days, right? Wanting to be in the flow state, access that zone in times of stress or struggle. So life could just feel easier. And that's what we do. So once the student has that intuitive language, and we help them create what we call a workshop. It's a workshop of unlimited creativity. It's a form of structured intuition that uses psychoanalytical theory, guided imagery, visualization, and actually it encompasses all of the senses because we're more than just visual beings. I think agree that we've become a little lazy. Our world is so four-dimensional, so visual, so colorful. We don't have to use our other senses. We have this device, right? This device that if we want to know the weather, we just type it in, right? Instead of smelling the air and looking at the trees and watching the animals, which tell us so much more than a prediction on the phone could, right? So the side effect of knowing ourselves better, and for the student, is an amplified intuitive sense of not only their internal world, but the external world, their environment, their relationships, what motivates them, what inspires them. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. And I would love to tell you more, but I don't want to give away the secret.
Well, I think it's fascinating that the word mindscape, when I think about that, it's like escaping my mind. And so I think that's really what it takes. And what you're talking about, that intuitive knowing, it really is available to us when we escape our mind. So I love that.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, to escape those, the thoughts that roll around and feel like they control us.
Right.
So we become purposeful thinkers, purposeful creators, and we take back the reins to this beautiful, powerful thing that we call mind. And it enables the student to amplify creative thinking skills, memory, relationship concepts that elude most adults, right? Yeah. I think in the modern world, we've lost even those subtle cues because we don't have ritual. A lot of our rituals have been watered down. This helps relationship on every level, and helps the student really understand what that landscape of the mind is for them personally.
So Angela, give us an example or two of what it looks like to actually put Mindscape into practice in your life.
Okay, I have so many. But here's one about manifesting I think is fascinating. And it's one of my favorite ones of my personal stories that I could share. So years ago, it's 8 years ago or so, maybe longer than that, probably, 9 or 10, I don't know, the time flies. Okay, a while ago, my husband and I were sharing, actually it was longer than that because today is my son's birthday. He's 14 today.
Cool.
And he was brand new, right? Barely a year. And my husband and I were sharing a one-room office. Chiropractic office. So we would share this space. And then the person that wasn't seeing clients that day would go home and take care of the baby. It was a great teamwork we had going on. Well, then we evolved into really needing to, we had 2 wonderful grandmothers close by that wanted to take care of our son so we could both be in the office more consistently. Fabulous. So we're looking for a larger space. But we were a young family. We didn't really know what we wanted. We didn't want to over rent a space. You know how that feels. We didn't want to put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So I utilized my Mindscape framework, my Mindscape tool, to help me tune in to connect with the perfect opportunity. And there's a very specific manifesting tool. Without giving away all the good secrets, what I did was I developed a plan. I said, this is what I would really desire. This is what would really work for us. And I even drew it out in my imagination. This is where it would be, close to my children's school. This is what it would look like on the outside. This is how it would feel going in. I used all of my senses. I would like a waiting room. I would like a reception area. I would like a kitchen. I'd like at least 3 treatment rooms. And for it to be wildly affordable and be surrounded by people that are not only colleagues, but really good friends. Right? I really put it out there. Really, but that's what they teach us to do in Mindscape. The sky's the limit. We choose not to limit ourselves. Anything could happen. So I did that. I used my Mindscape tools. Less than 2 weeks after I completed that process, right, using my Mindscape tools, I was driving my kids to school, driving my daughter to school, and I passed a building that I passed every single day, at least for the last 5 years, every single day. Never gave it a second look. It's kind of plain and brown, typical building. I looked over and there was this big yellow sign that says for lease. It's interesting. Right across the street from my kid's school. And we knew our son would go there when he was old enough. And it's like, this is interesting. Dropped off the kids, pulled into the parking lot, walked right in, introduced myself to the landlord there and said, hello, my name is Angela, and I noticed your for lease sign. He said, I just put it out. Today, I just put it out. How about I let you take a look, but don't judge it because the people still aren't moved out yet. I just put the sign in the ground. Great. It was exactly how I drew it out. My knees got a little weak when I walked in. I thought, what? How could this be possible? And then I braced myself. What's the price? Can we afford it? Right? And he said, I'll send it to you. And this is another beautiful synchronicity, is that one of the rooms, friend of mine who I wanted to invite to come with us, but she didn't even know this yet. She was at another location. I'd not even discussed it with her. So when I saw this room, I thought that would be perfect for my friend. So I immediately went over and said, hey, we're considering opening up a new office. Come see the room. And she said, and I'm about to leave where I am right now. See how those gorgeous synchronicities just all, I'm telling you, it is, I can tell you story after story after story how I applied those Mindscape tools, and it just helped me dial in my personal frequency to the opportunities that were there all along.
I really love that. It's awesome how powerful you can really create your life. That's a great example. Do you have another one that would give people a sense of how else they could use Mindscape to access their own information?
Yes. Gosh, their own information. There's so many. Okay. So I just had to wait for that one just to drop in.
Yeah.
Right. I have so many choices. So I was teaching a class in the Midwest, and this is a technique that I've shared with many students, thousands of students over the years, that I know they've personally applied, and it's worked every single time. So I started to teach the class, and a blizzard rolled in. I could have been in Iowa or Kansas. It was like, a blizzard to beat all blizzards. It was in December. And it was a big weather change for me coming from Texas. So I was teaching this class, we were doing our thing the first day. I was really enjoying it. And I felt a little tickle. What's that? A little tickle, a little dry throat. Then a headache came on, and then I started to feel really warm, feverish. And as a teacher, as a presenter, that's like the worst nightmare. You're standing there in front of your class, you've made a commitment, you start feeling sick. What do you do? Mm-hmm. So, of course, I was there teaching Mindscape. So what did I do? I went into my workshop process, used my Mindscape tool for self-healing. And there's so many different things we do with Mindscape, but I think one of the most powerful things that the students learn is that we are our own self-healing machine. I apply those principles, and what I discovered, that's how I accessed my own information. I discovered that it was strep throat. Now, I didn't have an official medical diagnosis, but I'd had it before. It's not too hard. The prickly, hot, high fever, 102 fever. So I went to bed that evening, and I did a healing session in my Mindscape workshop. And I woke up the next morning, the fever was gone.
Wow.
So strep throat normally doesn't just like that, right? Heal overnight. I mean, I had the aches and the body aches, and my voice was gone. I really didn't know what I was going to do. And there was no one anywhere near that could help me and could replace me. And I was also stuck in a blizzard. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mindscape is in itself a fabulous healing modality, self-healing process. And
I love that you read my mind, because that's actually one of the things I had written down was, you know, how can you use it to heal as well? Because it is awesome thing when you can heal yourself, that you can get your own answers.
Get your own answers
going on. You don't have to look outside of yourself. So,
yeah.
I do love that. So I'm sure you have a couple of golden nuggets or tips that you can give people without giving away too much of what the Mindscape process is, but something that people can put into practice, you know, as soon as they click off your interview, that they can kind of get a taste of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Part of the very beginning understanding of accessing our own information is entering into a space of presence with our own body, with ourself. And that presence for me has always started with the breath. So that would be my best nugget, is to breathe. And we share with the Mindscape students that an accelerated process of breathing is 4 deep breaths. So a deep breath in and a deep breath out 4 times. Calms the central nervous system, calms the vagus nerve process, which controls digestion, focus, sensory information. And it also helps to relax the body mind so that the person can be more present to what's really happening in the environment, not what they think is happening, not what they fear to be happening, right? Or overreacting to, but what's really happening for them internally and externally. It all starts with the breath. In that calming mechanism. Notice that, you know, when children hurt themselves, or we as adults, we're in a stressful situation, I know I find myself holding my breath, right? That's the first thing we do, right? We take that gasp in, and it's part of that shock process. So I would encourage everyone to practice that in life. I'm sure, you know, we have plenty of opportunities, driving, working, interacting with our families. You know, we live in a very busy modern world. Is to practice the presence of the breath and give yourself at least 4 breaths. And while you're breathing, ask yourself, what am I feeling?
That is,
what am I sensing?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And, you know, Angela, I've been a client of Body Talk, and I love the modality. Now, I have not studied Mindscape, but I'm definitely intrigued. Can you give us maybe an example of something that would be easy for us to do, maybe a mudra or a tapping or something that would be related to if we are feeling something like what you experienced with the scratchy throat? We all kind of know when we're going into an autoimmune response, we're feeling a little bit of that feverish kind of thing. Is there anything we can do in that moment to kind of like maybe stop it in its tracks?
Yes. That's a great question. And there is a technique actually in the Body Talk system. I use it every single day of my life, and it's called cortices. I can share that with you right now.
Okay.
So would you like to tap along with me?
Sure.
Okay. So the cortices process is a brain healing process. It helps both sides of the brain, left brain and right brain, logical, intuitive, right? Linear and holistic, function together in a more balanced way. It has so many immune boosting properties, awareness and consciousness boosting properties that I wish we had an hour to talk about it. But I'd like to, instead of describing it, I'd like to show you how to do it. So this is the self-application, okay? So you can just take one hand, place it at the base of your skull like this, okay? And then take your other hand, and I like to use loose fingers. And tap as if you were tapping on a little baby, very gently. And this is where the breathing is going to come in. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And then exhale. Good. And now take that hand and move it one hand position up on the back of the head. This is a brain integrative, brain calming process. And then still tap. Now, here's something interesting as we're going through this process. The creator of the Body Talk system, Dr. John Veltheim, has recently integrated a new tapping process called the three brains. You've probably heard about that concept, right? The power of not only the head brain, but the heart brain, and then also the gut brain. So as you're tapping these different hand positions, you're going to tap the top of the head and then bring your hand down to tap the heart. Deep breath in and out. And then bring that same hand down and tap the gut. You can't see it on the screen, but I'm tapping right over my navel. Hand up, top of the head. And we do that tapping process all over again. So you could tap here, you could tap there. You really can't make a mistake with it. Just be gentle, tap all around. Deep breath in and out. And then bring your hand down to your heart. And now down to your gut. You're probably already starting to feel a difference, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Now,
it's really so beautiful.
And now bring
beautiful.
the hand down to your forehead. We just have a few hand positions left. So let's do this process. It just takes a few minutes. Oh, and then bring the hand down to the heart. Deep breath in and out. This integrates all the brain centers, the learning centers, memory centers, and then down to the gut, well, the navel. Deep breath in and out. Excellent. And now the last hand position. There's several ways to do this, but here's my favorite. Both your hands on the side of the head above your ears. I like to imagine a very bright stream of light bouncing back and forth between this hand and this hand, meeting in the very middle. You know that the spine, is a storehouse for powerful energy in the human body, as we know. And this helps to access that energy. So deep breath in and out. Very good. And now you can take both hands off and tap. Very good. And then tap your gut. And this connects the three brains, the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. And also different hemispheres of the brain, the learning centers, the emotional centers, your thinking center. Oh, I tap out my cortices at least twice a day. And whenever there's any kind of stressful situation in my life, that's always my go-to. It just takes 2 minutes and I have a total reset.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. That is definitely something that our audience can go out and practice right away. Yeah. I have one quick question. We're almost running out of time, but when you're speaking about the three, you call it the three head centers?
The three brains. Mm-hmm.
Three brains. Somebody told me recently that they're discovering that a lot of the neurotransmitters, which were always suspected that were produced in the brain, are actually produced more in the gut.
Yes, that's true.
Can you say a little something about that?
Well, that is the most recent research, and all of our practical application at the table with our clients is showing us that that's true. And Dr. Veltheim and all the teachers with the Body Talk system are experiencing really rapid results in our sessions when we include that third brain tapping, because then it connects all of the neural centers in our head, in our heart. When we say we remember something, we don't say we remember it by heart. We say by head. We say we remember it by heart, right?
Yeah.
Right. So remember something by heart. We have a feeling, we have a gut feeling. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a more holistic picture of really how we are as a complete human.
Well, I think that's fascinating because that certainly brings breakthrough in the thinking about the production of serotonin, for example, as a neurotransmitter that is a happy neurotransmitter. And for us to understand how important the gut health is, I think that's a breakthrough for us in a society where we're so impacted by anxiety and depression and all of that. So that's really wonderful.
You're right. And for the Body Talk system and for Mindscape practitioners, for us, it's all about balance. That's really how we view it, balance and priority, and observing every person's healing journey as unique and really unlimited.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Angela. Oh my gosh, we've run out of time. I think that Bonnie would agree that we could probably talk with you for hours and hours. You have
I would love it.
an amazing way to communicate and share your concepts and your ideas and your knowledge. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure, my honor. Thank you. It's been, really great working with you all. Thanks for the opportunity.
Wonderful. Well, I really want to encourage everyone to make sure that you check out Angela's website and that you see all the wonderful things that her and her husband are doing in their practice and learning about the workshops. I know I'm going to be looking into that Mindscape workshop. So thank you everyone for joining us today. This is the Enlightened Humanities Circle Spiritual Rave, and we're so excited to be bringing to you experts from all over the world to teach us how to access our own information and help us master what it is to be human. Till next time, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.